This is the biggest demographic change that came to housing in America and probably around the world. It's just people coming back to work and all of the implications there. Some of it is moving. I just saw a report that the fastest growth on new housing from NAHB is in rural areas. So people are going back to the country and building homes in the country because they can work from home. So moves, more space, different uses of the house, all precipitated by work from home. And I think we can probably all do a better job of accommodating contemporary work from home than we are. And that's where we're going to try to put some ideas on the table for how to do that, some of the principles and some practical suggestions. That's what this expert panel is going to do. I'm not going to do upfront introductions because we've got a presentation prepared by each and every one of the panelists. I'm going to shut up, or I'm just going to interject. And I'm not going to do any setup other than just pass the magic wand and interject from time to time, and you all can interject as well. But we got about 10 minutes per presenter to walk through, again, some interesting principles and suggestions for work from home. And we tried to focus this on the luxury market. So it's the bigger, better, more splashy solutions that we're looking for. All right? David, you're going to take it away and start with a self-intro, okay?
Oh, we are doing intros.
Yeah, well, you're going to do a self-intro, and then you're going to jump into your presentation.
Fantastic. Okay. Hi there. My name is David Bellman. I'm a home builder, a semi-custom, custom home builder from Wisconsin. And as well, I also host a podcast called The Home Building Hero. So I talk a lot about industry design trends and things that we see in the housing market, all the way from just anything, economics to how the government regulations affect the home building business, to the trends and things that I see not only here, but at the Builder Show and things like that. So that's what I'm going to bring to the table. And here we go. So we're going to talk a little bit about creating an ideal home office. And obviously, as John mentioned, this is a huge shift in the industry because, a couple years ago, we were still putting, home offices in houses, but we just made the space, and then we just kind of left it, and we let the customer fill it in. And we're really doing our clients a disservice at this point when we do that, because that's really one of the number one needs. It's really one of the main reasons why people are moving out of their houses or they're remodeling, because they don't have the appropriate workspace, whether it's for themselves or for their kids, because that's another big thing. A lot of kids had to stay at home and do their schoolwork, virtually, and some still do. Some are still homeschooled, so we don't have the right spaces provided for them. So we're going to talk a little bit about some ideas that I saw that I wanted to bring to the table. Now, most of the photos, I'm going to be full disclosure here, most of these are taken from house, because even some of the projects that I've done recently, I didn't like the photography, so I found really cool stuff online. And so if one of your projects is here, congratulations, you got featured. So here we go. Let's talk about design for a little bit. So the first thing is we really have to just be more cognizant about working with your clients. So really take the opportunity to ask them a few extra questions than you normally would. Are you going to be working from home? Are both of you working from home? Do you have kids that are homeschooled? Those are the kind of things that you want to start to get under your understanding right away. And then kind of discuss not only the needs that they have for right now, but what they think might happen in the future. Because with any work from home stuff, that's ever evolving. So whether it's, you got kids in high school and now they're going to college, and how's that going to change their life and their lifestyle and the usage? You want to start to figure those things out and help them navigate those solutions. And
David, do you have a detailed question set that really gets into some of these particulars, like what amount of time are you doing video conferencing? Is that video conferencing in-house with staff versus presenting to clients? Do you dig into that sort of stuff?
That's a great question. I don't specifically yet, but as I was putting this together, I'm actually, that's one of my little notes, is creating like templates to go through with clients and asking the right questions. And, we all have to be better about asking the right questions. We have 2 ears and 1 mouth, and use them appropriately and proportionately. So really that's a big part of it. But if you can have some questions like that and laid out, I think that's a great strategy to get you started to make sure that you're really helping them the way that you can.
Yeah.
And then, the biggest thing is we have to be problem solvers. So find out what problems they're facing right now that you can solve for them. And that's the same thing with the questions. That's how you're going to learn that is, are you doing video conferencing? Are you streaming things or whatever it is that you need in your office? I just had a client approach me the other day. We're doing a custom build for them, and I sent him some sites that I found for him. And before he came back and talked to me, he had eliminated most of them because he was checking the Wi-Fi and the signal data for the cable services and things in the area, and he eliminated a lot of them because they didn't have enough speed for him, for his IT business. So those are things that customers are thinking about that we may not be. Okay, so one of the things is we have to look at some different design elements. So one of the things I want to talk about a little bit too is having like dual work areas. So a lot of families now, especially if they're moving out rural areas, they're going to maybe both need to work from home. So creating maybe a dual work zone. I did one office for a client where we did a custom desk for them, and there was a divider in the middle, and they each had their own desk on either side, and they actually like working in the same space and stay married. That's kind of interesting. No, whatever. So we designed this custom setup for them, and they worked out of the same spot, which was pretty cool. But I also like these kind of dual desk designs. You can kind of see it in the background of the picture a little bit. These are great in like hallways. Like if you have a wider hallway doing a built-in desk or something like that. Great for homework, just a spot for kids to do their work. So those are some.
It's interesting. We talked about being alone together. I mean, to some extent, working together, but having the solitary activity. And I remember when I worked from home, my daughter she had a desk across the desk from me.
Okay.
And I grilled her on her writing.
There you go. Well, you know what they're doing.
She had a no BS sticker on her monitor. Because, like, let's read this out loud. That's bullshit.
Well, there's something to be said about that, because especially with kids with homeschool, there's a lot of parents that are concerned about the content that they're consuming. So if you're still there working, you can kind of have an eye over the shoulder a little bit, or you can make sure they're not playing Roblox or something instead of doing schoolwork. So, I mean, there makes some sense to being in the same area for work.
Yep.
Lighting is obviously very important. We've talked about that all throughout this conference and previous ones. Any work area, you always want to try and have natural light, of course. That's preferred. LED lighting is great, and I put a lot of it in. I mean, almost all my houses now, it's just straight LED everything. But then you also have to consider the dimmers and things to make sure that you're getting, if it's too bright, or, sometimes people get headaches with too much light. So you want to be able to manage that. Your shades, of course.
That's really an interesting challenge. The lighting, we've talked a lot about lighting the whole run through here, but like we need office productivity lighting sometimes in that office, and it's like, where am I? Am I at home or am I at office? And I need total utility and focus, and so that's a tricky one to work through.
Yeah, and the days of just the dome light in the ceiling aren't going to cut it anymore if you're going to be working that much.
Tunable's the answer.
Yep. Yeah, tunable. And at one of the last tech home summits I was at, when they started talking about Kelvin levels and things like that, that was really eye-opening to me, because there's just way more that goes into it than we realize, and I'm certainly not the expert at that. But I also looking at multiple lighting. So whether you have some can lighting, what kind of fixtures, especially if you're doing built-ins, maybe you want some under cabinet lighting as well to light your work surface. Some people still like the table lamp. You want to just make sure maybe you put a floor outlet in and things like that. So some of it's just very simple. You can always do good, better, best, but those are all things you want to consider within your design. And then storage is a big thing, because unfortunately, if you're working at home, you're probably going to be accumulating clutter. So this is just a picture I found that I thought was really well done. As far as creating some built-in storage areas, you can see that they've got the cabinets, they've got the pull-out drawers, and then they have some nice, open shelves that just can display things just to make it more aesthetically pleasing. The other thing is really big too is built-in file drawers. Because again, if you're working from home, you got to store documents. You might need to lock something up if you got something sensitive. Maybe you got younger kids, you just don't want them, writing with their crayon on an important file or something like that. And then making sure you're creating ample work surface. For us as builders, we're pulling out these huge blueprints and things like that, and you need that space just to work. And here's some more examples of some good storage ideas. I liked on this one how they had kind of this device. You can just see it off to the right-hand side where they have all their office supplies hung on the wall. I just thought that was kind of cool. And then check out the printer where that pulls out of a cabinet. Like, how cool is that? So you don't have all this equipment laying on top of your desk. So I thought that was a neat use of storage. And then, of course, you also have to factor in power and connectivity. So those USB charging outlets are awesome. They have those new ones now, too, that have the lights on them. So you can look at it from a distance and see, like, your phone is still at a red level, or yellow, it's still charging, or green, it's fully charged. And then, look at putting additional outlets and power in those rooms, because people are plugging a lot of stuff in. So I would definitely consider adding more outlets. Again, the USB outlets are great. Maybe even potentially putting in a chase pipe from the first floor, from if you have a basement, like I have in my market, run that. So that way, if you need to change your wiring or update it, you can easily do that and not have any extra expense later.
You do want a hardwired connection to your laptop for video conferencing.
Absolutely. I'm still a big believer in hardwire, but then also look at Wi-Fi boosters. We're putting in a lot of Wi-Fi boosters in our homes to make sure that you've got signals all throughout.
What do you disagree with? Or are you just giving me a hard time? You don't want a hardwired connection for video
Hardwired connection for
conferencing?
sure. I'm not a big fan of the booster, though.
Are you?
Ah.
Okay.
Yeah, you've got bandwidth issues and potential network
Boosters are
problems.
bad, WAPs are good.
WAPs are good.
Okay,
boosters are
there you
bad.
go.
Yep.
Everyone know what a WAP is? Wireless access point.
Okay.
Yeah.
One more thing I'd add to that, and a little bit with connectivity, as a female that is always office from home, to your other picture, I can't sit in front of a wall. I have to be looking out of a window.
Is this the one you're?
Yeah.
Okay.
Put in those those floor outlets and all that connectivity to the builders. Really consider that in a home office space, because I don't know about you guys, I can't face a wall and be productive. I have to be looking out my window.
Yeah, and that's a good question to ask your clients too, is what's your ideal work environment like?
I appreciate that you ask them that. See, they don't know what they don't know. So that's just something I would input.
Probably depends on the personality and the job, right? You're creative, you need to look out the window and dream. Yeah.
And then we also need to factor in comfort and air quality, because again, if you're going to be in this room all day, you don't want to feel like you're in a prison. So just again, having a good atmosphere, cleaner air. Obviously, Broan has the Overture system, which is really cool, which you can just kind of plug in, maybe put in a vented fan. Otherwise, there's a lot of other companies out there with really great air quality solutions, but you want to have the temperature be the controlled level that you want, and then also the air quality to be sufficient for you as well. So factor those things in as well. Those are good upsell points for you as a builder as well. There we go. And then, of course, since we have the Hunter Douglas rep here as well, shades, privacy, Crestron, automatic controls. So you have like your good, better, best,
AIDS are us.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, so
Tech home builder.
yeah, exactly. So manual blinds or wood blinds, honeycombs, obviously just for standard window treatments, but then start looking at implementing electronic controls, or then go smart or intelligent blinds as well. So just depends on what level your consumer is. You can kind of fit a solution for them. And then, of course, access. This is something people don't think about, but there's a lot of people that have home businesses and then they have guests come over. Do you really want your guests trampling through your whole house? Probably not. So if you can design a home appropriately where you have a separate access point just for your business, think about that. That's nice to have. That way you can kind of maintain some privacy with the rest of your home. And then, of course, looking at storage and locking things, or again, trying to create some sort of privacy. I have a house that we designed recently where we have this little tiny office. It's just like a 6-foot, it's a condo, so they're real small. But then we put like a sliding barn door over it so that they can access it and they can go in there and do a Zoom call, shut the door, have at least some semblance of privacy. So think about those kind of things as well. And then, of course, noise reduction. That's another big thing, especially if you're doing a lot of video conferencing. You need noise reduction, not only for what you're doing, maybe for the rest of the home, but also potentially protecting your home in case your kids are running around on the big wheel or something on the wood floors. You want to be able to make that room so it's quieter. So they have all sorts of really cool foam panels. I like these hexagon things that I showed there. You can actually pin little pictures up on it, but it also does some sound attenuating properties. Looking at adding some fabrics and things like that. I'm sure you'll talk about that with the furniture design a little bit more, but you want to think about that. And then just being creative with the use of space, like putting built-ins in a loft area like this. I love these kind of things. Again, great spots for kids to do homework, or maybe it's just a spot to pay bills and organize your mail and everything. These are cool too, like putting the benches under the windows. I did this recently for our client. It turned out awesome. So we did bookcases on either side of the window, and then we put a bench underneath the window so you had somewhere to sit, but it just kind of gave you some extra storage. And I think those are really kind of a good opportunity to use a space that you wouldn't maybe normally fill with anything. And then again, here's another example of a great loft area where you got that open concept, maybe a little bit wider space, doing a built-in desk there. That way you kind of still feel like you're part of the family. I built a home for my attorney, and he's like, I want my office to be kind of open so I can be working but still feel like I'm around my family. So
Interesting.
there you go.
Very good. Thank you so much, David. Allie Reichert. Rickert.
Yeah.
Wayfair. Why are you here? Who are you? Why are you here?
This guy, John, called me. He said, hey, I have an awesome panel for you to
Well, what does
speak on."
Wayfair do with builders?
So Wayfair Professional, we work with a lot of builders in everything from your design concept for model homes all the way through installation. We have a full team of interior designers, and I'm going to share some of their work that they've done in the space. So work with a lot of home builders, a lot of multifamily as well. And this is a top request from pretty much everyone in the new home building space. So I'll pop through some of these. So these are just some different examples that our team has put together on different types of best practices. This one is in a communal space, and I wanted to include this because there'll be a lot of parallels in what we are saying and what David had said, but there's going to be more than one member of a family that is likely going to need access to an office, and not forgetting about those, stay-at-home school days where they're schooling from home, or if there's a second, adult within the family that needs a space and you only have one dedicated office. There's really great ways to incorporate a working space into a communal space as a design. The key to this is making sure you consider the functionality of needing the right tech, needing the right plugs in the right places, and kind of thinking about how you want to position those elements. The other piece is making sure to, if you're in your living room and you look over at your office, you want it to be well decorated and organized. So having the organization and storage space for everything, but also, as you can see here, the plants and having those different elements. So we have a couple different examples of this particular space. To add on to, I'm sorry, I didn't catch your name, but to add on to your point, we actually stole this, or took this image from one of them because we didn't steal it, sorry.
We borrowed.
We took this from a presentation that we gave to a customer. All of these are. But this desk is facing a window, and that is such a key piece to be able to leverage, one, the natural lighting that's in the space, in addition to the task and ambient lighting that you're seeing. But it provides for just a natural escape to be able to just take a break and have some positivity, look out the window, and refresh a little bit. So not only is this in a communal space, but it also allows for that element of feeling like you're outdoors. You will notice in the seating here as well, John really wanted me to focus on the ergonomic seating because that is very important in the office space when it is a functional office. Everything that you're seeing here, or for the most part what you're seeing here, is what we've put together for model homes or model units. And we typically will use a little bit different type of soft seating here, as it just kind of shows better when you're walking through those. Creative spaces as well. You can do this as, a side table. This is a desk that was set up. I believe this was, maybe a smaller unit where it was set up as a side table, but really great. And a lot of times we're doing this in children's bedrooms and such to show that they can, have, homework and work from home environment. Hopping to this one, what I really liked about this, again, sometimes you don't have that private office space, but if you look at the actual bird's eye view here, you can see there's a little nook in the corner. It's a little bit private, not totally, but it's own space in the corner where they were able to repurpose it for a desk. It allows, you can do different types of barriers. There are, on one of these slides, I'll show you, there's sound walls that you can put up to try to make it more private. But again, when it's kind of a secondary office, this is a really great way to do that.
Ellie, I think for this space,
Mhm.
furniture and the space really need to be thought through concurrently. We need concurrent engineering of the furniture in the room,
Mhm.
right? And that's not the norm for most of the rooms in a house. And do you feel that way as a
Yeah,
builder?
I'm fortunate in one way because I have access to a custom cabinet shop. So
Yeah.
sometimes we can design and make something to fit any space. So we don't look at it that way necessarily, but I think it is great to try and bring your designer in right away with the plan and try and make sure that you're creating, the most appropriate space and flow that you
Yeah,
can.
I mean, because that office furniture is kind of purpose-built, right? So if
Correct.
you're putting big plans out or you're a graphic designer, you're gonna need different kind of desk space. You gotta have the power in the right spots. So this is a different animal. And now I
Yeah.
realize why we invited you to be on this
Well, there we
panel.
go. I think this is a really great example of it as well. A lot of the builders we work with are building office spaces as small as 60 square feet, which works, and it's very much like the barn door. You can close it
Correct,
off.
yep.
It creates a privacy space, but as long as you plan for it and it's not an afterthought. So as long as you're thinking through the outlet placement, the lighting, the sound barriers, and this is a great example of it. This one is actually in a closet. But is it properly furnished and properly accessorized where you have artwork behind the desk because there isn't a window there? A lot of times we'll do nature type of artwork in those spaces so that it does create a similar feel to having a window there. But this is a great example of using space very wisely. And then last one that is kind of in the more communal space until we get into the private offices. This is what we call a loffice, a loft in an office, a great space. Again, if you have someone who works from home periodically versus wanting to have that dedicated space, they can take this as both a gaming room for the kids as well as an office space for the adults. Great example here as well of the natural artwork, an outdoor image to try to add a little depth to a room that doesn't currently have a window in it. I'm pretty sure while looking at the very tiny floor plan there. But we do see a lot of these as well in model homes and trying to show different, functionalities of the spaces. Oh, I lied. There's one more of the
Bonus.
double bonus slide on before we get to the private working space. But this one as well, again, a parallel to what you're speaking to, but a movable desk versus a built-in. We do see a lot of dual working spaces. There's different ways we can try to make this a little bit more manageable if both are on the calls. We have different panels that can go up as far as like their pin boards, but they're also sound absorption. Really important to consider flooring as well. A lot of times the homes are going to be completely LVP or completely wood flooring, and that's not very great for sound absorption. So throwing in a really thick pile rug is also a really great way to try to get the best out of the space. Now we'll jump into some of the private office spaces and what we're seeing a lot more with some of the luxury homes that we're working on. So love this office. I love everything about it. I love the natural lighting, the ambient lighting. It's got the task lighting as well. It has the soft space in the background, or the soft seating in the background. It's got the great gallery wall. It kind of thinks of all of the different elements that you're going to want in your work from home sanctuary. Considering we used to have, half an hour to an hour commute to work, we had some time to unwind, we had some time to relax and change our mindset from work to home, and we don't have that anymore. It's really great to have some other elements, such as soft seating in the background, where you can relax, where you can step away from your desk and relax a little bit before transitioning to home life from work life. And so we're seeing a lot of that, and being able to put that story together is really important for a lot of the clients that we work with. The wainscoting, we're seeing this come up quite a bit. I have this in my office. I absolutely love it, and I get compliments on it all the time. It's great for the Zoom background. It just shows a little bit more luxury, a little bit more features. The paneling as well, we're seeing a lot of this come back. So very simple, even if it's not in like the build phase, it's something that, I mean, we do like stick-ons for it.
I didn't know
So-
you offered that, so that's awesome.
Yeah, yes. So this is something that's fun, that's popped up. Love this one as well. We've touched on a lot of the elements. It is a very ergonomically friendly chair. This is one of our partners' pictures, actually. She is not sitting in a very ergonomically friendly way, but it is a great seat. I love the soft seating in the background. They have that kind of side sanctuary area. This is the on wheels, the sound panel, pin board. These are very popular. They're the ones on the wall as well. I love the picture that you put together. You can put them into very creative, fun, designs. But this one is kind of more of a functional, and it can become a space separator. So, and then she's also got the paneling on the wall, and I just really like this particular image. We're seeing a lot with wallpapering as well. So if you're looking to get into like kind of a next level on the design piece, this one also has really great lighting, but great way to just kind of enhance the design within an office space. And then storage and organization
Seems
is
so
huge.
bold.
That
It seems that
This one?
Wallpaper?
from a fashion perspective, I mean, are we going that bold and actually
Many
trying to
models
make
that we
statements
do
in the
are.
offices now?
Yes,
That's not
yes,
generic.
we are seeing this quite a bit. I don't know if you guys are getting similar requests, but within our design team, across a lot of our models,
I've seen it in our
we're
Pride
getting
Homes.
into. Yeah,
I get twitchy as a builder because like I'm a kid of the 70s and 80s, so I'm like,
You know how it
I
is.
spent a lot of my life ripping wallpaper off the wall, so I'm like, I really don't want to go back to that, but yeah.
it really can. And this is a very bold design. This particular pattern is very bold, but it adds a lot to a room. It adds a lot of depth. It adds a lot of character. And it really fits in with what a lot a buyers need.
I mean, I like it. It jumped out, and I just think of like the generic, boring LinkedIn images, and this is just
Yeah, well,
grabs you,
Yeah.
you know? We got to make
we're
statements.
here to brighten things up a
Yeah.
bit. And then storage. Storage is huge. This one kind of double plays here as being a great aesthetically pleasing piece in the background. It's got storage. It's got the open kind of design elements and a great zoom background. So we really like that image as well. Same thing here. Again, you have your soft seating to the side. You kind of have your little reading nook, but then you have your space where you're actually sitting down to work. Just kind of highlighting some of the elements that we talked through here. So the ergonomics is going to be huge. The sit-to-stand desks, I didn't have a lot of these in images because we're not doing them a lot within our model homes, but for practical uses, it's key. Having that sit-to-stand, I love having that. And then just kind of showing the different accessories that it's okay to put these types of things into models as well to really show the functionality of like, here's how you will be connected and it's not something you need to worry about. And here's where your plugs will go and it'll kind of hide those other, nobody wants to see wires everywhere. So being able to have those different accessories.
Well, we got to think through on the accessories, where those displays and such are going, right?
Yes.
Because we got windows, and do we want a display in front of a window or not? So that is the hand-in-glove design of the furnishings, the active technology components, and the room. It all has to be kind of done concurrently.
I agree. Again, talk through the different acoustics and elements that you can use to try to drown out sound. I have 2 very little children. I have 2 very large dogs. And I think John's met all of them on calls that we've had. But again, the acoustic panels are great. They can add a design element to it as well. The textiles, such as the soft seating, which not only gives you kind of that sanctuary within the office space, but also, it is a good sound absorption tool. And then the sound making machines, the white noise, the gray noise, those we've seen as well start to be a little bit more popular as we're trying to make spaces work for work from home. And then lighting, we've all touched on lighting a lot, so I'm not gonna get too deep into this, but we like to try to incorporate natural task and ambient lighting in all of our different designs to allow for the different fluctuations that a home buyer would need within sitting in those office spaces. decor, one of our favorite things at Wayfair, obviously. My favorite is honestly the greenery, the natural. We do sell live plants. I didn't even know this
I
until
killed
recently.
one of your live plants.
know, I
I've
did
already
too.
killed one.
I did too. I ran one over with my car, so another story.
just-
But
You do a whole
I
topic.
just dried it out.
We just
but it
dried
helps
that.
with air quality, and it's just kind of nice. Like it's a nice decor element to have in any space indoors. Personal touches. We've done these a lot in model homes where we'll have photos of faux children, and then have children's bedrooms for same children that are on on desks or on different photo elements throughout the model homes. So, and then organization, we've already touched on that piece as well. And then resources, I think everyone will receive a copy of this if there are a lot of different resources that we pulled from on here. So I'm gonna just,
Can you just
through that
give
one.
them a little bit of an idea of
Yeah.
the resources you have on the design side of things? Because I don't think that would come through when people hear a Wayfair radio spot or see a
Yeah.
commercial. Because we talked to your designer there, Erin, who's been designing office environments for years, and like, just give us a little quick rundown on that. 'cause
sure. So we have a couple different interior design teams within our Wayfair professional arsenal, I'll say. We have different teams that focus on specifically designing office spaces, specifically designing model homes or model units, clubhouses or outdoor spaces, and then we have those that focus more in hospitality, ADA compliant spaces, whether it be food service or hotel services. So we have a large team that is able to sit down with you and do a personalized consultation of walking through your design plan. And when I say walking through, I mean virtually walking through. Everything is done behind computers, but we have a pretty in-depth team there that's able to help with that.
Right. And you, from a brand and furniture quality standpoint, you do range into the luxury heights, right? You're not
Yes.
just a middle market furniture.
That's actually a great question, and I should have included, instead of having Wayfair Professional
I'm here
on
to
here.
throw the softball.
Yes, thank you. Wayfair is kind of known as like this everything for everyone type of brand, but we do have a luxury line. It's called Paragold. Paragold.com is part of the Wayfair Professional experience. So once you're logged into a Wayfair Professional account, which if you don't have one, you can reach out to me. But Paragold is a very high luxe brand that we use within our luxury designs.
Very cool. All right, we got to keep going.
Yep.
Mr. Weiner.
Oh, I'm up. Great. Hi, my name's Sean Weiner. I spent about 25 plus years in the luxury home technology integration business. Recently left to pursue a career in consulting, which we'll see if that plans out or not. But for the time being, I'm working with luxury builders, homeowners, and some manufacturers in the space to try and further the mission of technology in the home. These two did a great job of talking about almost everything I mentioned in my slides here, so I'll try not to repeat myself or repeat them along the way. But it kind of goes without saying that comfort's important. I'm going to try and refer a little bit to technology in this space. I recently bought a 34-inch widescreen curved display to go along with my laptop to replace the two 19-inch displays that I had before. It's game changing. It really is. So I think it's really important when you're talking about the desk and the workspaces that you have the appropriate equipment nearby. So big enough screens that you can actually see I've got old eyes. It's hard for me to see small print anymore. I work on plans a lot, on sets of drawings a lot. And having the real estate to look at the entire floor instead of a section of the floor at one time and have to pan back and forth is actually really useful. So depending on what your clients do, I would really pay attention to those screens and those monitors. Make sure that you've got good connectivity. So it should be as few connections as possible to get your laptop in and out of the space. If you want to pack it up and go, you don't want to be unplugging 13 things and finding your next charger and your other power supply. You don't want to be looking for USB ports and USB hubs. So make sure you've got everything you need in that space so you can plug in and go, and then you can pick up and leave when you need to. We talked about wireless repeaters or Wi-Fi extenders, whatever you like to call them. Not the best use of technology in the space. If it's an existing home, you don't have any other choices. Sometimes that's a good thing. But wireless access points themselves, especially if they're connected with a smart controller of some type, whether it's on or off premise, give you much higher speeds. So wireless speeds are faster than they've ever been. So a wired Ethernet connection is great for Zoom calls. It's much more reliable typically. But do the best you can with the Wi-Fi that you've got. It's not super expensive. You're not going to spend a lot more money.
And you
to
want
do
the
it.
Wi-Fi where the commercial grade, where there's handoffs based on signal strength, and people don't get hung up with a bad signal from vendors like Luxol and such, right?
Exactly. So it handles handoffs from location to location as you roam throughout the house if you've got a big piece of property. But it also makes sure that you've got multiple connected devices without packet collisions, so you don't have data loss and glitches in your
No
Zoom call.
packet collisions.
There you go. There you go. We're getting technical here. And then convenient locations for everything, which you all touched on. Make sure you have access to your printers and your scanners and all your peripherals. Everyone has said something about lighting. The one thing we really haven't talked about when it comes to lighting is making sure that it's you're lighting for a lot of different reasons, right? So there's task lighting, which is lighting your desk surface. There's accent lighting, which is going to accent maybe the wall behind you for your Zoom background. It's going to accent the area behind your monitor. If any of you ever worked late at night and stared at your screen for a long period of time in a dark room, it's very fatiguing for your eyes not to have a backlit area behind that screen. So you want to make sure that you light the room properly so you don't have that level of fatigue. You mentioned sitting in front of a window or facing a window. Part of the reason people like doing that, aside from not wanting their backs to the door, is daylight is energizing, right? There's a reason it's energizing because there's a lot of blue light in that spectrum at noon, 1 o'clock. If you can replicate that with the lighting in your space, with a circadian rhythm lighting system or a human-centric lighting system or a biophilic lighting system, or whatever term Crestron wants to use today, you can. Yeah, sorry.
It's
Savant,
all out
let's say
there, though.
yeah.
So yes, it is a thing.
Whatever
You're
you want to
welcome.
call it, it all does the same thing, right? So effectively, it's going to bring that blue light in the spectrum. Your brain is not going to produce melatonin and the hormones that make you sleepy, keeps you more alert.
Yep.
If you remember the evil empire called Google, they did that first. Right? So they took their workspace and they amped it up to 5,000 or 6,000 Kelvin. I'm not sure which color temperatures they used to keep their employees more productive for longer. So they basically abused their team to make them work longer hours. But it's effective. That's why they did it. So I would recommend that you have the right kind of light in the room if you're trying to work.
Tales of torture from the tech world.
No, I didn't say they were
The evil
guys.
empire.
Let's see, push that button. There we go. This is an under talked about, is that a word?
It is
Element
now.
of the home office, yeah. So most of us have worked from home with a laptop camera that sits a little bit below us at our desk, and if the taller folks in the room will get this, if you ever looked at a Zoom call, you're looking up everybody's nose, right? At a weird angle. It's probably not the best scenario or solution for a home office. So these cameras can be mounted at a distance. I really do like putting them further away from the desk, so you actually see somebody sitting at a desk, almost like you're looking at us now instead of looking right at my gigantic head.
I was on a Zoom call with an author, and he had a multi-camera setup, and he was switching cameras. It was so cool. It made the presentation so much more fun because he was showing he was drawing something on a piece of paper, and you saw the overhead. I'm like, how cool is that?
Wow. It's very dynamic, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It really is an awesome effect, and even having a wider angle so you can see more of the space and more of the room. And there are tracking cameras, so if you've got a collaborative space, whether it's a conference table or a large desk with multiple people at the table, instead of having multiple cameras set up, you have one camera that actually tracks the speaker. So it'll actually do that movement for you, so you're not trying to run a presentation while you're presenting a meeting at the same time.
I just think for your luxury clients, this goes back to getting the technology integrator or designer involved early in the consultation to start showing some of this stuff. People may be living with legacy displays that are crap, and they don't know there's 35-inch curved monitors. They don't know about these cameras, and you show them some stuff. Now you're really connecting with them, and you're really giving them something special, but you don't get there if it happens after the fact. Then it's a collection of crap on a desk somewhere.
Right. And I don't think I have a slide for the microphone, but it's equally as important, right? So the audio is probably more important in a lot of cases than the video is. So they're broadcast quality USB microphones. They look like a broadcast studio microphone. It's not the little tiny thing built in your laptop or the little tiny USB plug you can plug in. And it's legit. And if you ever talked to somebody on a conference that had one, it's eye-opening, or actually ear-opening, I guess. It's kind of shocking because it's crystal clear what you're hearing as opposed to that garbled sort of Zoom quality audio to go with it. Environmental controls you touched on. John, you sent me an email the other day, which I thought was really cool. It's something I hadn't seen before. But I have a friend who made a custom scent for himself, which is kind of bizarre. But these little scent emitters that actually make you feel like you're in a hotel lobby. If you've ever walked into one of those hotels, it smells like whatever tropical fruit it is when you walk in the front door. It's an interesting idea for an office. It makes it comfortable. You're going to spend a large portion of your day in there. I think it might be an interesting idea. We've all touched on room acoustics already today, too. Two things to think about, especially since there's builders in this room. There's a lot of stuff that can go either in or on the walls. Because there's two goals in room acoustics. One is to make the room you're in sound better, which is what these panels do. The other one is to keep the noise out of the room and keep your noise in the room. So if you don't want your family to hear you on your Zoom calls, if you want to soundproof the room, or sound reduce those. Think about the walls, think about the insulation, think about the underlayment for the walls, think about the type of drywall you're using, how many layers of drywall you use. Think about stagger studding the room to make sure it keeps the noise down. Think about your windows and doors. If you don't have a seal around the door, all these acoustic treatments are kind of useless, right? You do a question?
No,
You're about to say
you know a lot. I'm astounded.
No, sorry. Convenience. Make sure you have everything you need nearby. It's kind of, if your office is the other end of the house from the kitchen and you want to go grab a drink, it's not really nice. So, things like wet bars and food storage and having a space to have social interaction and bigger conference tables. We all work from home by ourselves because we weren't allowed to see people for a while. That's changed a bit. So we might want to have, teammates, team members, clients, collaborators in our space. So make sure you have a comfortable space to do that. Backgrounds. The Zoom background that you all use, the electronic one, everyone knows it's fake. So try and build a real one.
And it's not highly regarded because it's like,
Yeah.
that's fake.
Yeah, it is.
Come up with your own bling.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But it's kind of nice to consider what your background looks like. There are companies that manufacture actually roller backgrounds that look like motorized screens. You can actually lower behind your desk. So if you want to partition the room. And then think about the integration. So I know that Joanne's going to talk about this a little bit, so I won't steal your thunder, but having an integrated system that's easy to use. If you do a lot of presentations, you don't want to set up your call every time. We're trying to figure out how to use Google for this one or Teams for that one. Having a fully integrated system can really make a big difference in the way your presentation runs, and having collaboration tools there too. So even like a shared whiteboard or some sort of tool where you're not just talking at people, you're actually interacting and having real conversations. And a good design professional can help you through that process. And then this is my favorite slide of this whole group, right? So I think we overlook what we use these rooms for. It doesn't have to be just an office. I did a client's space where this guy's got a pool table. This is a job we did a few years back, but they've got golf simulators in their office. So what if after that 3-hour marathon Zoom call, you get up and, play a couple holes and sit back down again? It's it's a nice way to escape. It's a great way to use the room. And when it's nighttime and your kids are there and it's a sports simulator they can kick soccer balls into, or you can have your friends over. But think of all the other uses for that space instead of just making it a dedicated office. So why not make it a little bit bigger and make it useful and kind of a fun room in the house? I think that's all.
Good stuff.
Oh wait, no.
More?
I got one more. I got one more.
Well, there's more. Well, wait, there's more.
Just think about where you're going to put stuff. That's probably the best solution to this problem. Wiring is really important. If the camera's not going to be built into your laptop, it's going to be further in the room. Make sure you've got wire. Floor outlets are always great for this. Just prepare for where these things are going to go. If you're going to put speakers in the room, make sure that they're wired properly. If you're going to, put network devices, printers, and scanners, get a wire there because you're not going to be able to do it later. And make sure everything's interconnected. And put a glass wall to your garage. It's perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Well, I am Joanne Arsenal. I am the Director of Business Development for Crestron Electronics North America. If you're not familiar with Crestron, I know that I spoke to some of you earlier this morning. So Crestron is the only brand in the home automation space that that we do actually manufacture, engineer, and then support all the facets, the full spectrum of home automation, so that your lighting, your shades, your audio and your video, your HVAC control. We do integrate with some of the other brands, but I'll show you some examples today of what we do within the Crestron biome. So looking here, we're looking at some typical work from home setups that we've actually created. These are your basic setups utilizing all of the different facets of Crestron. So starting from the left, you actually have a status indicator there. You can put a status indicator or a scheduling panel right into your home. A lot of people, they're just like, well, this is a little bit extra. That's a little bit outside of that. But is it extra when you're on a video conference call, you're pitching to your client and your kid walks in saying, hey, I just pooped my pants? You're like, well, not right now. That status indicator would be red at that time instead and tell your whole family, this is, do not disturb time. So this is a great option for the work from home personnel there. We have our shades. We've talked a lot about balancing your natural and your artificial lighting. We have different unified communications technologies that are actually consumer grade, and we actually adapted to the consumer. We started these adaptations prior to the pandemic, but obviously this ramped it up, and it's a great adaptation and piece that you can add into the space. Of course, we have our different lighting. We touched on different lighting sources. So we'll see all of that throughout this space. So now bringing that all together, Circadian lighting, we didn't invent it, we're just mastering it. It's okay. So circadian lighting, yes, you have different intensities, different colors, different color temperatures that are going to affect you throughout the day. So by using tunable LEDs, we're able to really take advantage of that. And we'll talk about some of these preset scenes. So circadian lighting, we can go into the productivity factor. So a scene that might have productivity, I know for myself, when I have to get through a whole drawing set, productivity for me, the HVAC comes down. I need a really cool space to be able to work through. Audio, so this is going to come through all of my audio spaces. I might either be working through like something like System of a Down, something that's really going to just stimulate me and make me, just charge me up and get me through that. The lighting, it's going to change from the warmer hues regardless of what time it is during the day, and it's going to have a cooler temperature. Because as we were talking about, how Google utilized that, the cooler temperatures for your lighting, they actually do stimulate the senses, and it really does. As you're looking through that circadian curve, that cooler blue that happens in the middle of the day, that's when you're the most productive. That's when that stimulation happens there. So we're able to use that, utilizing all of those different subsystems that we have listed there. Now, when we go into the video conference mode, so now we're going into presentation. So now utilizing all of these different subsystems, video conferencing, that circadian lighting, skin tones, whether you've just come from Jamaica or from Boston, it's skin tones, they look better when you have the warmer tones from your tunable LEDs. So warmer tones will kick in from the video conferencing. When you activate your video conferencing preset there, your harsh downlights are going to shut off because nobody needs to be illuminated, through their forehead. That's really not the best presentation of yourself. The audio, you might have some noise cancellation, some white noise that's going to come through.
So you've pre-engineered these configurations,
Yeah.
and so
and this is
it's
all
easier, more of a turnkey installation
exactly.
for the integrator.
These are the technologies that we've had available to us, but using this in this application is something different. We have not had to think about these systems in this way. We've looked at a lot of the different applications for safety, for convenience, for simplicity, but using them for the work from home is something that is relatively new within this space.
Yeah, but you guys have a ton of workplace experience with the Crestron commercial side of the business.
Exactly.
Too, so you bring that home.
Yep, that's exactly where we started. So our technologies, we started in the unified communications and connectivity there. A lot of those CEOs, CTOs, and CIOs, which we're going to see in a moment, they wanted that same connectivity, that same convenience and simplicity translated into their home experience as well. So so taking all of these different subsystems, putting them onto one platform and being able to create these scenes, which are going to be, more effective and more efficient for you in your work from home environment, that's where we can really shine when we have that integrated technology. So we have the Fish residence here. This is a gentleman, he is a CEO of a tech company. He has enjoyed all of the technology within his workspace. Throughout his entire career, he's always had this available to him. Now he has to work from home. So we see here on the table, actually, let me just back this up. This is a tabletop conferencing system that is adapted from the conferencing space, and we adapted it to the residential space. It's a lot smaller form factor, but it has all the same functionality. There are 4 omnidirectional microphones within this space and also a speaker. So you have a complete tabletop space piece right there. You can also see on that touch panel, you can control your entire home, but more importantly, that office. So if you wanted to trigger any one of those scenes that we can pre-configure for you, then you would be able to do that right from there. You don't have to interrupt yourself, interrupt your flow to go to the wall and then, trigger one of your presets because your video conference is about to start. So there you see it right there. So he wanted to, if you were on the meeting earlier today, this is a 5-story, there's 5 stories of living spaces within this space, and it's all Italian architecture. So they wanted to maintain that space and that aesthetic, but have that functionality of their video conferencing. So this was a great balance for them. They have the distributed video there, they have the audio as well, but then also that tabletop, which is really just very minimal within this space, and it does not detract from the aesthetics that he wanted. Here we have, a broader sense of his more private part of his office. So here, when he triggers his video conferencing preset here, those drapes are going to close. Well, it's really great to work with natural light. When you're on video conferencing, that might be a little bit more overwhelming. So that is going to shut down that chandelier. Again, we don't need downlighting. That chandelier is going to shut down, and then other sources of the light are going to kick in for that. So that's a great way that we used that work from home, that video conferencing preset within this space here. That's a zoomed out view of that table we saw earlier with that MM30R on the table. Again, you see that it really doesn't detract from the space, but he gets all of the functionality that he needs through that one tabletop device. And you'll see on your left there, again, very minimal, but that's his scheduling panel. So you'll be able to see if somebody were to walk up and that door is closed, if it's red, if you see that he has a meeting on there, you know that you should not be knocking on the door. If it can wait, it should wait. Otherwise, if it's free, you can go ahead and go right in and address whatever you need there.
Especially if you have poopy pants, don't.
Especially, that is exactly what prompted this, yes. So that was a really great example of how we integrate the whole home automation within this space and bring all of those different subsystems together for that work from home experience.
Great job, great job. All of our panelists were 1 minute and 50 seconds over, and you all have one-on-one meetings in like 8 minutes. But thank you all for coming. Please apply for future participation. Give me ideas on what you want to hear next in sessions in this Lux track, okay? You've got my email there. You'll get survey forms, but shoot me ideas, okay? Because we want to stay relevant for you. I hope you enjoyed the program.